to those who disdain democracy, those whose tools are bombs and bullets, your way is not the right way.
Those words were spoken 25 years ago today by former Maine Senator George Mitchell. It was at the signing ceremony of the Good Friday Peace Accords, which officially ended hostilities in Northern Ireland after decades of war and strife.
Neither Mitchell nor anyone else truly knew on that day, April 10th, 1998, whether that peace would hold. But despite many challenges, it has. News Center Maine's Don Kerrigan recently spoke with Mitchell about how he got all those sides to agree to it and put the troubles, as they were called, behind them.
For such a beautiful country as Ireland, the troubles, as they were often called, were a terrible scar. A bitter conflict with roots going back hundreds of years. It pitted Catholics against Protestants and supporters of the Republic of Ireland against those in the north still aligned with Great Britain.
It was a very difficult and dangerous place.
I talked with Senator Mitchell about those violent years.
In the 25 years or so before the peace agreement, in political violence in Northern Ireland, 3,500 people were killed and 50,000 were seriously injured, many of them brutally and totally impaired for life.
Belfast in Northern Ireland was at the center of the conflict. Mitchell says it took him more than 2 years of working with the many factions, trying to find a way to basically get them to simply put the guns and bombs away.
Many of the men and women with whom I helped negotiate this agreement had themselves been involved in violence.
He says it took time and a great deal of talking to get the sides to even listen to each other, much less negotiate.
So for about a year and a half or more, there was almost no progress. A lot of insults, a lot of back and forth, and then it kind of hit rock bottom around Christmas of 1997. That meant we'd been in talks for more than a year and a half, and there was a violent episode, and there was an escalating series of retaliatory killings.
And Mitchell says he was afraid it would all fall apart, so he called for a final deadline to find agreement or end the talks.
And when they all agreed to the deadline, I knew that they were serious, that despite their many difficulties, despite the hostility, the violence, the intensity, they didn't want to go back to the violence.
Earlier that same year, News Center Maine's Pat Callahan walked the streets of Belfast with Senator Mitchell. All these years later, he says the senator's brains and ability to work with people were the keys to finding peace.
He had a unique temperament as well as an intellect to be able to see what needed to be done. And he was really clearly the right guy for that job. You have to recognize that it's their country, it's their fight. You're just here to help them sort out what's the compromise going to be. Everybody's going to have to give something here. That's how this works.
And on April 10th, 1998, Good Friday, the often warring parties signed the agreements. Not perfect, Mitchell told us, but a new life, literally, for Northern Ireland.
In the 25 years since the agreement, there have been a total of 155 deaths.
That's compared to 3,500 deaths and 50,000 injured in the years before the agreement. Maybe not total peace and harmony yet, but George Mitchell says life in the North has been dramatically better for the last 25 years.
There's still segregation, there's still hostility, there are still many, many differences and disagreements. But they made a fundamental decision to resolve their differences through democratic and peaceful means, not through political violence.
Lives saved and a new future for a region that clearly needed it, thanks in large part to Senator George Mitchell. In Portland, Don Kerrigan, News Center, Maine.
Should be noted that while the Good Friday Accords have held, not everyone in Northern Ireland has accepted them. Just today, a group of Irish Republicans held an impromptu military-styled parade through the streets of Londonderry. At one point, several young people threw Molotov cocktails at police vehicles, setting them on fire. The violence was condemned by Northern Ireland's government, which will be hosting President Biden and other world leaders at an official observance of the anniversary of the Accords next week. George Mitchell tells us he plans to be there. We'll be right back.